and knew I would jump on any bull they gave me. But yes, I admit I cheated. I stole for the FBI, sold drugs for them, recorded illegally for the FBI.
Why don't you take my life? Don't you already love my life? I will promise why my reflection to die. My movement always does. Calculation by promoting.
What the fuck is going on here?
Hey, what's up, guys? This is No Way Jose. You're watching No Way Jose. This is Jose Galison. Today I have with me Br0th, a newer content creator. He's been covering a lot of stuff that I'm really into recently, we used to cover back in the day, some 09A, 764, that type of action. So it's Satanism, neo-Nazism, federal agents, where it all comes together. That's what we'll be talking about today. But before we get into it, I do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Nadeau Shave Co. If you're tired of that razor burn, irritation, and ingrown hairs caused by those deep, penetrating multi-blade cartridges, then this is the way to go. You don't need the expensive nonsense. You can shave just like your grandpa used to. Whether you're shaving your whole face or just edging up your beard, the single blades give you a barber-grade shave for a fraction of the price. The standard issue gives you one traditional safety razor, as seen here, and a box of 100 stainless steel razor blades. $75 allows you to shave for the entire year. Now, let's be real. This is I got this well over a year, and I've barely put a dent into it. Really depends on how frequently you shave. If you are someone who shaves on the daily, then you may want to consider the Quarter Shave Club. That 1 year pack probably won't be enough for you. In that case, that puts you about 25 cents per replacement blade. He's also got shave soaps, 3-in-1 body, hair, and face soaps. Smells great, feels great. It's a COVID mandate refusing company. This company was born out of refusing the mandate. Use code Jose for 10% off your entire order. Let them know I sent you. Go get a good product that supports your values. And with that, let's go ahead and get Br0th in here and get into it. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm pleasure to have you here. I actually think it was YouTube who fed my content to you, which is bizarre. I think it was the Kyle Spitz episode. And then I saw not shortly after that you had the Suter that you dropped recently. So I guess just real quick, if you could just introduce yourself to my audience. I've really dug your content that I found so far. Found it pretty interesting. It's like a kind of produced type stuff. But if you could just let my audience know who you are, the type of content that you create, the kind of stuff you're into, what you type of stuff you would like to keep doing, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, sure. Well, I guess I just consider myself a YouTuber. Mostly initially inspired by Degenerosity. I really like the guy's editing style. The first couple of videos that I had were in that sort of style, just kind of general talking sort of thing. Talking about like some stuff I cared about, hyper editing. I look back on them, they're way too fast, and I used not a very great editor on it instead of the one that I use now. But later on, I did always find the conspiracy stuff pretty interesting. And then I don't know if you saw it but the first one was on what's her name? What was her name? It was the girl who tried to get Christian to kill herself. I forgot her name. It was like Yankee or
I
Jackie.
never got to embroil in the Christian lore.
Yeah, but yeah, her parents. I'm blanking on their names, but her parents. Her father is a former Navy SEAL, SEAL Team 4, then SEAL Team 6, and he worked for the intelligence communities for about a year or two, and then dove into that for a bit. Dove into her mother's history. She was a Secret Service agent, I believe, in Haiti, I think. It's been a while since that, but pretty much after that, I went on to make more stuff in that sort of realm of the conspiracy kind of realm. I mean, not conspiracy, but just you know, the intelligence agencies kind of realm, because wherever they are, it tends to be pretty interesting, at least in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
parapolitical seems to be the word these days.
Pure political.
Yeah, that's the word I hear a lot. It's like it's the respectable version of conspiracy, and it's just
Oh, okay.
yeah, I don't know. That seems to be my impression. I'm fine with conspiracy though, but go on.
Yeah. After that, I think it was after her, I made the Soy Jack Party video, which was pretty. I like those guys; they're pretty funny. Little little weird. Check out this comment section on that video; it's it's pretty funny. But I found out that there was a document written by some anonymous guy that accused one of the former owners, Kuz, of being part of the Ratz-Kadmadzor or whatever. Probably mispronouncing that, but of essentially the I think it's the CIA equivalent, or the it was like the telecommunications equivalent enforcement agency of Russia, essentially, and wherever that rabbit hole led, and that's a whole story. Kept going on. Discussed the what's his name, Moot, and wherever he went, he's gone. Like he might, there's no trace of him. And he talked about what the state of 4chan and the former owner of 2chan, how he's like data mining pretty much 4chan and has been for the last decade, over a decade now. After that, it was a few others. What else? It was Emily Yukis, which is my most popular video, I believe, sitting at like a little over 100,000, I think. I actually inadvertently found I actually wasn't going into the Emily Yukis the video, I wasn't expecting any sort of like conspiracy there or intelligence potential honeypot there, but apparently that there's one there too. So that was certainly very surprising. After that was Cal Spitz, and then after that, obviously the Joshua Suter one. But yeah, I want to continue on in the more, I want to say, the flesh simulator kind of style of content, because I like that guy a lot. He makes really cool stuff. But I'm thinking about making a William A. White, going a bit more in depth with his story, kind of in the same style of his Michael Aquino video, just being more short form, kind of bombastic. I honestly don't know if I'm going to still do that, but maybe I will. But
Yeah,
I kind of want to go into some. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to ask. I am curious, just logistically speaking, and I'm just kind of curious because it looks like you don't have a ton of content out, and they're doing good numbers. I'm just curious. Do you have some sort of large social media presence somewhere that you're using to distribute, or are you just hitting the algo correctly? Because I've just kind of had a theory about well-produced videos, and they kind of just hit the algo right. And it's like it's kind of the stuff that you've been producing that would hit it. So, and I don't like. I'm just curious if you have a large social media presence. This is boring
No.
shit for people who aren't into this, but I'm just genuinely curious because I was like, these doing pretty damn good numbers. And if you don't have a large social media presence, then it's just completely organic, and you're like, oh, that's pretty fucking cool. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I have pretty much no real social media presence outside of YouTube. I know I do have my X or Zitter, or I do have Instagram too, but I don't really post there. I just kind of use it to look at brain rot reels, and X or Zitter. I just not so much that. I just kind of go there just to see what the political zeitgeist is going, see what BX is posting, like people in her realm. Yeah, I don't really. I have like no big presence on really any other social media. It's just YouTube. I'm pretty much a YouTube person.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the main thing. I'm just like I never really. What was I gonna say? Yeah, it's just the I guess you could say well produced. I don't. Yeah, just it's just to produce videos. I take a lot of inspiration from Turkey Tom and another guy by the name of Sour Nail. I take a lot of inspiration from a lot of guys around, but it's just pretty much just YouTube, just to kind of sort of docutainment kind of style of things.
Yeah. So what put you down the Kyle? I'm assuming it was probably the Kyle Spitz stuff that put you down this whole rabbit hole altogether. The all the way to the Temple of Blood, Josh Suter, 09A, whatever. I'm assuming it was Kyle that kind of put you down there. Am I correct, or was it something else? Because it
Yeah, it
seems to
was.
be. I would surmise you're a little bit younger than me. If I had to guess, are you like early 20s? Or I'm just you correct me if I'm wrong.
I am 27, so no, I'm
Okay,
not
well,
that. I'm
not
not.
not that much younger than me, because I'm 33. I just some of the references you're making and stuff, it just sounds like you're just more tapped into younger culture stuff. Because I'm just like I just feel kind of old. So I don't know. Beside the point, for some reason I was thinking you were older, so that was the type of content. So it would make sense that you would be kind of came from that angle, from like the Spitz type of stuff, since he's I don't even know how to explain it. Like the 764 stuff is, I guess, a lot more tapped into like newer media, I guess, because that's kind of the form by which they are like trapping people essentially. So I
Yeah.
assumed maybe you might have been like linked in that way, since you're more. But even then, maybe you're a little more tech savvy than I am. But I'll let you answer. I'm just curious. How what kind of sucked you into this whole weird Satanism, fucking whatever the hell rabbit hole this is?
Well, I always thought that there was like some sort of. Well, start with Kyle Smith first. I actually saw it was dying. It was a guy by the name of Dying Scribe. I believe is like Poe's Law Esquire on Twitter or something like that. He's a kind of popular guy. He posts like memes and stuff like that. He posted the video that Spitz's stepfather shooting him, and I was kind of curious of what this was, and essentially, I just kind of stuck around in the thread for a little while and just waited for more information to come out, and essentially just like a bunch of stuff came out. I saw that Reddit post, a few other things, and then I saw it was pretty much him through that video that I got more interested in this in 764, and there was like a few other people on YouTube that I looked at that were covering it. I think one guy got banned because he overcovered it or something. I don't know why he got banned, but I saw that he did. So I was like, oh man, will I get banned for this? I mean, if I do, it's not that huge, not a huge deal, but um, yeah, I was just following his post, and then eventually I came upon BX's stuff, and she's far more in this than I am, so she's much more of a credible source than me. But I came upon her stuff. She I actually first interacted with her. There was one person, I can't remember their Twitter handle, but apparently they seem to been a part of Com. I actually tried to talk to them initially at first during the research phase of the video, but they never responded. And it was only later when I dropped the video, they like came back into my DMs and were like they were talking to me. It's like, hey, can you go somewhere more covert? It's like, no, dude, you're staying in Twitter DMs. What's up? And then whoever it was just started talking to me about that. We got into Kyle Spitz. I believe the person struck me as a girl. I don't know if he or she was, but essentially, I talked to her about the video. What else? And I got into his sentencing, and I said, hopefully he's going to be in prison forever, just like Cadenhead, essentially. And she or he said something exceedingly strange. It's like, oh, criminal in prison for 80 years, an end of an era, almost like nostalgic. And it's like, all right, I'm gonna just leave, buddy. Goodbye.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was let's see what else. Yeah, it was mostly BX. Again, BX is the one who like compiled a lot of that. I read the affidavit. A lot of it's blanked out, obviously. What else I saw, and then I actually came upon the Wired article through Ruben Sims' video. He like featured it very briefly, just like as a title kind of zoom in kind of effect. Did more, I read that, did some more digging. Then I decided, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll do a larger video on this. And then eventually after that, during the research phase, I found Angel Amita through Cadenhead, through the research on Cadenhead, and like, oh, there's a satanic bent to this. That's very interesting. And then I saw the Temple of Blood's flag. I was like, what is this? And then found Joshua Suter, and well, that's how the video came about, because then I found Nate Thayer's article about the Rural People's Party, the Songun Politics Study Group, and all that William A. White stuff. A lot of the sources I got this from was from I think one of the only news sources, at least at the time, like 2021. I think it's they're gone now. The National Justice article, I believe, or the National Justice Party, which, funny enough, Emily Eucas was not Emily Eucas. Her husband was a part of before they broke up, which is exceedingly strange. But that's neither here nor there. But I read their article. There's like archives of it. They went over. I believe it's called Manufactured Terror or something like that. They went over a lot of different points. That's where I got Maurice Goulet's letter, I believe, and that's where I got a lot of the initial information. Funny is they like included a letter, which I believe Sutter was writing to someone. It's like half of a letter. I don't know where they got it. They didn't source it. But it was just like explaining the Temple of Blood and like their modus operandi, essentially. What else? Yeah, and then from there I just did a bunch of research. As I just included Nate Thayer's article because he, there's the Rural People's Party isn't like the most talked about era with Sutter. It's mostly Adam Waffen and Temple of Blood. And it implies the Temple of Blood was like around for a lot longer than like 2015, which I initially thought at first, but apparently it wasn't. And he's been in this scene for, I think there was another article that Wired released where they found another pseudonym of his, or the pseudonym that he used on the Aryan Nations website, Wolfram Hall, where it was like 1997, where he was like contributing. I'm just paraphrasing. I don't know if this is actually what it said, but he was like paraphrasing some excerpts for a book that was heavily satanic or whatever. I need to go back to the article and look at it, but he's been in the scene for at least since the 90s. And so he's had some satanic allegiance for a good while, but yeah, that's how I pretty much got into it.
He started his Christian identity though, right? Isn't that what Sutter started as? Or am I wrong?
He was, I know he was in his first things were, he was in the Aryan Nations for since the 90s, I believe. At least that's what he said in his testimony at Caleb Hill's trial. It was like, oh, have you been a part of white supremacist groups? How long? What white supremacist groups have you been a part of? Like Aryan Nations, Church of the Sons of Yahweh, early 90s up to 2003, and 2003 was when he was arrested and became an informant. So early 90s, I can only assume. I can only really assume that he's been in this for a long time because with Wired discovered, it's like
his dad. He was in it with his dad too, like his
David Sutter.
David. Yeah, I mean we used to, I'm assuming. I mean I guess I mean you saw the intro I just did at the beginning, and I'm assuming you probably watched that interview. And in that interview that with me, Ken, and Gleddy, he talks about how he met with Sutter's dad. I think he made up some sort of weird satanic story too, although we found that to be kind of dubious. But yeah.
He was in his book Undercover Nazi, he mentioned the what was it? He went to the redneck shop, or which I can only assume was David Sutter's shop in South Carolina. So that's where he met him, I guess. What else? That's I don't know what else I can say there, but yeah, the League of the South. He went to the League of the South, the old redneck shop. I still have the book. I could probably find it, but what else? Yeah, I thought maybe it could have been another redneck shop, but he explicitly said League of the South, so it's probably that.
All right, well, let's back up a little bit and talk about some of these bigger concepts and break them down a little bit, because this is I think where some of the interesting things come into in these discussion, particularly I guess O9A and then how it interplays into other things. I guess we could just go straight to the crux of it there. I'm kind of curious what your take is when it comes to an entity like O9A and how it interplays with other entities such as 764 or I forget some of the other different cults names offhand, but ones that are similar, because the whole idea is supposedly that there are these that the O9A creates separate splinter cells that are sort of like this. It's kept people. It's up in the air which way or the other is true. Also, to whether O9A is even real or not, people are still kind of like, I torn on that. At least real in the sense of like, is this more than just like shadow games by by feds essentially? Like, what is going on here? What is your thought about in what O9A is and its interplay with other entities?
I think O9A is real, but they only exist. Again, I'm just going off what Kian Tavaden says because like I said in the video, I think he's the most credible source when it comes to the O9A because he got an interview with David Myatt, and I haven't seen any other journalists do that. Then again, I did listen to a podcast where they kind of, it was that BX had sent me. It was like the Empire has already fallen. I think they were just kind of shooting the shit too. But
Dude, I went on a rabbit hole a long time ago trying to figure this out. Like, because I know like the Maya exists online with all different alts and all this shit, and trying to figure out what's real and what's not, you'll damn near lose your mind. But go on.
Honestly, I don't know if that is real because I took Maya as like a I guess like a hermit in some sense, both technologically and kind of literally. I certainly wouldn't have taken him for like a forum poster because apparently he like a lot of this was because he wanted to, I'm just going off what the other guys were saying, essentially to troll David Icke, I guess, or like get him to notice him or something. I don't know how true that is, but it's kind of a funny concept. But it's like I guess what they were talking about is he wanted attention and he wanted to essentially get the O9A recognized by ostensibly David Icke. And then I guess he got his wish, but like as the monkey, like it's kind of like a monkey's paw where he wanted the attention, but the attention came at essentially a bunch of intelligence agencies slandering. Well, I say slandering, but I don't know. Well, he got the attention he wanted, but it's I don't know what he thinks about. Well, I'm sure he doesn't like Suter, but I don't know if he's I guess a pedophile. I don't think he is. Because Suter probably is, maybe. Because you don't really write 2 books like that, and you're not like some sort of weird pred. But
which expand on that. What do you mean by the books with Suter for the sake of the audience?
Iron Gates and Bluebird. I haven't read them personally because I don't want to give him money and also be put on a list. And I would also rather not
these like
sacrifice my sanity. But
novels towards children, essentially.
Essentially, it's like child sacrifice, pedophilia,
child
sacrifice
type stuff.
Yeah,
okay. So we're talking SRA type shit.
Yeah, it's like the disgruntled Adam Offen member that I went over his Google Doc. Essentially, he blew the whistle on that and said, "Oh, these guys think that these are great reads, and also, these books include essentially baby murder on like the first page, or like, and Nate Thayer also described that same thing, and Nate Thayer's obviously not Adam Offen, so I believe them when they say the books are pedophilic in nature, and that's kind of the big red flag here is, he was directly funded by the FBI, over $100,000, $140,000 over the course of 20 years, the bulk of which I think was at the beginning of his work with the Adam Offen division. And they've ostensibly funded that, which is, not the best look. And essentially, and again, I'm going by what Kian Tavaden has said because he's the one who investigated this. At least I believe him when he says it, that he's gone into these predator networks like 764, like Harm Nation. Like a lot of these predator networks have essentially been using his books, his branding, the Martin Press branding, in order to goat children into creating CSAM of themselves, essentially, and just like what else? Like essentially just to abuse themselves, like make cut signs on themselves, kill their animals, stuff like that. He's like obvious, and Suter, I believe, directly acknowledged that, I think, at least on the Agony's Point Press Twitter, if he's alleged to have ran, he directly acknowledged 764, not what they were doing, but yeah, essentially the FBI, again going off what Tavaden is saying, essentially the FBI is inadvertently responsible for fueling these predator networks because they they use Martin Press branding to just hey, join our as what Tvedan, I'm quoting Tvedan, you want to join our Nexion, you need to incise 333 into your cunt, literally, and this was like in regards to a child, like a 12-year-old girl.
Yeah, and with these Nexions, what these are referring, this is kind of what I was referring to earlier, where they're like almost like a offshoot of the original. So this is what we're talking about when I was kind of saying how like 764 could be like an offshoot of 09A. This is what they're referring to, as they refer to them as Nexions, correct?
Yeah.
But now obviously now the issue then becomes, does 09A accept this? I know if you listen to Myatt, he'll wax, eloquent forever about what, whether this is really 09A or 09A related or whatever. And I know you were alluding to with Suter, I know his he also does frequently posit the idea that essentially Suter and this new ilk are kind of a new breed of 09A that he's not of. So it's kind of obfuscates what even is 09A, who is known at 09A, that sort of thing. So
that's definitely, I could definitely see that side. But I believe 764, its origins come from Cult or Bradley Cadenhead. Like he literally just named the Sextortion network after where he lived in, I believe, Texas. I can't remember what town, but it's pretty much just part of a zip code. 764. I can't remember what part of Texas, but it just branches off from Cult, which is just another sextortion ring, which was part of Com. Essentially, just a lot of this was pretty separated from the 09A, because the 09A has been around, at least in concept, since at least the 70s, I believe. At least when Myatt's been around, but these sextortion networks, I believe that they originally start out as just sextortion networks. They want to prey on children, essentially. A lot of them do, and it all overarches with COM. I don't know what's an acronym for, but it's essentially just our community. I think I spoke to one of the guys who had his ear pretty close to the ground with regards to these networks. So I believe that 764 and like all the other types of what they are, or all the other offshoots or splinters or whatever, I think that they like quite literally just co-opt the aesthetics of 09A to make themselves seem more dangerous than they are. And in some cases they are, because they get the shit. They're able to get children to produce CSAM of themselves, gore shit. They essentially desensitize a lot of people to this stuff. So I guess in one way or another, they're a bit more dangerous than the 09A in some regard. But the 09A, in one of the books, I believe there's three of them, technically five. Hostia is like 3 versions or 3 volumes. There's Naus, which is a practical guide to modern day magic or whatever. Think of that what you will, but and then David Myatt's Star Game, which those are genuine, like 09A. Like if you want to as far as I guess if you want to understand them as much as you can as an outsider, I guess, you'd have to read those books. And again, that's more of what Kian Tvedan is talking about. And with Naus, Nexions are just kind of weird esoteric. It's a weird esoteric concept. They're just essentially gates that kind of bring in the causal and acausal, or what they would call the causal and acausal. Acausal is just essentially the magic realm, I guess. It's stuff that's not bound within 3D space, at least as far as I understand it. And then the causal is just what we live in now, 3D space. Essentially, you bring them close together, and that creates a Nexion, and then you're able to use acausal energy as like some form of magic or whatever.
It's almost like a dialectical node, is what they're saying.
Yeah, essentially. And it's just like there. I guess, and there are 2 types. That one is the physical, which is you can just bridge the causal and acausal, and then the second type is just like within us, like the psyche, I guess, by virtue of our psyche. That's what it said. And then and then the book says, which I found a little funny. It's like there's literally a Nexion. Apparently, the closest Nexion is by Saturn, I guess, which is kind of funny. But yeah, that's that. I watched Tvedan's video on like the absolute state of the O9A, and he mentioned these nexions, and he said, "Read Nous, and you'll understand." And I read it, and I mean, it's just kind of it's just kind of a lot of magic stuff, I guess. I don't really believe in that sort of thing, so it kind of sounded a little stupid. There was one part of it that said if you have like a problem with someone, try to manifest yourself standing over their bed, and you'll act as like some sort of paralysis demon and scare them, I guess. That was
Yeah.
kind of fun. That was kind of funny.
What are your thoughts in O9A being some sort of induction tool into some sort of something else? Because I'm sure you're familiar with the idea. I forget what they call it in O9A, but that if you do understand the outward facing doctrine, that essentially what it says is that there becomes a certain point to where you need to go to another level before you get
Yeah.
any more of the doctrine, and you need to essentially complete. I don't know how it's framed, essentially a sacrifice of some sort. It's alluded to. This is where a lot of people get into the smiley face killer theories that perhaps you literally have to conduct the perfect crime and do some. It seems to be that it's describing essentially killing someone and getting away with it type deal.
Yeah.
And which would sound just like a smiley face killer and kind of be the perfect induction tool into a super elite group of any kind, you know?
Yeah. I think it's. I was reading the first volume of Hostia. I've gotten a little bit through it, but um, I guess that's one way to do it. I guess it's mostly just putting yourself through hardship, or putting yourself through a harsher deal. I don't like killing someone and getting away with it is something I guess you could do, but it also describes like living in isolation for a certain period of time, living on the edge. The edge being like joining the police force or something like that, and like it literally gives that example. And like I guess becoming a burglar, and just selling what you steal. I guess it 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 doesn't strike me too much as like a conventional like sacrifice sort of thing. It just put yourself through ordeals and then gain wisdom as a result, and it takes years,
Yeah.
I guess, a long time. That's what I've taken away. I have to read more of it so to gauge more of it, but they do emphasize like amorality. So it's not, obviously it can be taken in a more sinister way. And killing someone is probably more than likely on the table if you want to try it, I guess. That's the impression I get. What else? But the O9A, at least from what I've read thus far in volume 1 of Hostia, they I guess I guess they're like they go pre like their whole thing is that they hate the Nazarene, I guess, the Nazarene disease as they call it. And they kind of go before that. I guess a lot of their doctrine comes from like old Greek, at least as far as you can tell, because like like they were like it was talking about like Satanism being not like literal evil. It's just like being defiant. I'm paraphrasing. I'm very poorly paraphrasing, but essentially they want us to evolve past, I guess. Because they literally use a word called Homo Galactica. They want to evolve. The human species wants to evolve past that, and I can only take that as like they want us to become a spacefaring species, I guess. Via whatever. I don't know, but yeah, I guess there's a lot of ways. It just depends on putting yourself through ordeals, like just like infiltrating something, and then being undercover for a certain amount of time, like try to like sway people like what Sutter did with the atom waffen. Even though he didn't like need to sway people and actually kind of met with like some friction, because Denton and Cole and a lot of the other administration in the atom waffen were already in that sort of realm. So I guess he didn't really need to like turn them too much to it. I don't really know why he did that. I guess it was just the only thing I can the only conclusion I can really come to is like he wanted to like this whole 20-year span has just been a giant insight role, I guess. That again, that's if you consider Sutter to be genuine O9A, which I don't know if he is. I don't think he is.
Which
He
is
might
a
be.
good question, because being part of the whole concept of O9A, from obviously you'd probably know better than I would, is that it's kind of like an accelerationist thing. So
Yeah.
the idea is you're trying to create ionic change or whatever, and so it would totally make sense that if you were whatever Sutter is, if you were a dyed in the wool O9A believer, that you would be like, yeah, being an informant and working for the FBI and doing X, Y, and Z, this all fits in with that. Like that's fine. Like, so
Yeah.
there's no betraying of principles at all occurring
Yeah.
there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, it's just yeah, that is, yeah. I mean, yeah, I could definitely understand that. But also, another thing that Tavaden was talking about was like collectives. Like essentially, he said that there were no nexions, essentially, or like technically, there are only, because a nexion can just be a lot of things. It can be a person, it can be a temple, it could be, as he says, something far more esoteric. And there are none, I guess, technically. They're just collectives spelled with a K, I guess. And there are two of them: Legacy and New Age, I guess. People like Sutter's age, or not Sutter, Myatt's age, in their 70s, 60s, 70s, because apparently Tavaden was in contact with someone who was in academia who was a Niner back in and was a Niner since at least the 70s, or in its early inception, and has been in academia for however many years and gone completely undetected. Again, that's according to him. You'd have to talk to him, but what else? But yeah, there's the collectives, and apparently there are the old ones, which he went through a profiling process in one of those collectives, and he was subsequently able to get the that connection to Myatt and have that interview. And then there was the newer ones, which I believe helped him in his investigation of uncovering these sextortion networks that were abusing these children. And essentially, a Niner, he goes into this more in his video, but a Niner like kept in contact with these pedophiles in order to like essentially expose them. But yeah, I get, yeah, the decentralized and individualistic nature of the Order of Nine Angles is, as I said, like a double-edged sword. It's there's the collectives, and then there's the nexions. I guess it kind of depends on what you want. I guess you kind of have to pick and choose on what you believe, or what you might think is true, or at least trust but verify as much as you can. Of course, I can't really verify the collective's claim, so
Yeah.
I'll just have to take his word for it.
Speaking of verifies, when it comes to Myatt, verifying anything with him is kind of a bitch. His
Yeah.
whole life is kind of just a big old Paul Bunyan story. But when it comes to O9A, people frequently reference Gladio connections, and if I recall correctly, I believe that is the connections are on account of Myatt himself. So I'm just kind of curious. What are your thoughts on that? Do you chalk that up as a Myatt Paul Bunyan tale? Do you chalk up? What are your thoughts on Myatt as a whole? Does he come off as a purely fantastical character to you, or does there actually some credence to whatever he is? Because it does kind of just seem like someone who thinks he's like a academic vampire that doesn't understand social media. You know what I mean? That's what it kind of feels like when you interact with him online. So what are your thoughts on all that?
I really don't know. I've only looked into him like somewhat cursorily, because I was mostly just investigating Sutter's story at that point, and with Myatt, what I've heard of him, like I've heard the rumors of him like essentially like trolling Twitter and bothering people or whatever, like talking to people under like different pseudonyms. I don't know how real this is. What else? But yeah, I mean, it's certainly. I'm not really sure what to think of him. like initially I thought he was just like some old hermit that didn't really have an online presence, but evidently I'm wrong because he's kind of all over the Aryan Nations archives, and he like literally uh, he literally what's the word? I don't know. He like his message to I guess Muslims prior to Sutter's letter to Saddam Hussein is literally right there. It's like David Myatt message to Muslims. Clearly he has like some sort of tech savviness, and it's his name.
He at least knows how to go on Twitter and type in his name and hit the search bar.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
that is the thing. That's the joke with him is you call out his name on like any social media app, and someone who almost certainly is him will respond to you.
does he? Damn, that's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly believe it because there was one there was a story of like the interview that Tavaden had conducted was also offered to Hanrahan or Jake Hanrahan of Popular Front. I guess he refused it. I don't know why, but and apparently like Myatt was allegedly like trying to troll him. I guess I don't know. Tavaden says he wasn't. I guess I don't know. I mean it. Yeah, I'm not really sure, but I know his connections with Combat 18. Which Combat 18 goes back to Gladio, I think. Don't quote me on that. I don't actually know, but I know Gladio seems to be like kind of the ground zero in all this. Because that it also birthed Michael Aquino, which is that fucking guy is that's a whole
Top tier spook, dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny. Aquino is actually mentioned in Hostia as like a in a critique sort of thing. It's in the volume 1.
Well, yeah, I think Maya and him are like pen pal buddies or some shit, weren't they?
Were they? I have no idea.
I mean, I don't know. I that sounds correct. That I say it, I don't know if that's true or if that's one of like any other of the bajillion fucking weird spooky characters that were pen pals with fucking Aquino.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't know. He seems like you would be though, so I feel pretty confident in that one.
I certainly wouldn't put it past him. I mean, I think Aquino's dead, isn't he? Didn't he die?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying they're still pen pals.
Well, yeah. But that could certainly be something. But
yeah. I swear there was some sort of connection there. But either way, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if there was. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was actually there was one like kind of I was debating whether or not I should end my Sutter video off on this, but it kind of didn't really make sense. So it would probably make sense for like part 3 if I do make that. I might go for something a bit more lighthearted because stuff gets a little depressing after a while, but so I don't know if I'll still maybe I'll do a Myatt video a little bit later or like an 09A video going into their books, Myatt himself, which that's also a very long topic. So and it's just like a lot of research, so I might just go for something a bit shorter and more lighthearted. But I know what was my train of thought? I fucking lost it. What was Myatt doing? Myatt.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you were going with that one. We were talking about Myatt, and I don't know where you were
going. Sorry, I'm a bit scatterbrained.
No, you're good.
Let's see. Talking about Myatt and his Michael Aquino.
Yeah, we're talking about Aquino, Myatt, Gladio.
Yeah, Gladio.
Yeah.
Gladio. Fuck, I lost it again. All right. I'm retarded. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Let's see. Fuck, I lost it. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I've basically run out of questions, I think. Anyways, I mean, where did you think you were? Where are you wanting to go with this in the next one? You seem like you were implying maybe you had some sort of idea of where you wanted to go with this. Maybe that might have been even what you were about to ask. But look, where are you planning on taking this? Where do you feel like you're being drawn to? Use it like maybe understanding O9A more. What angle do you think you're gonna be leading into for the next part, if at all? I'm just kind of curious where your head's at, what you're finding to be intriguing, because it is all of this is kind of a boondoggle of confusion when you're trying to decipher all of this.
Yeah, truly. I guess if I were to make part 3, it would be just on Myatt and the O9A themselves, like as far like as I guess as dialed into the 3 books, essentially, or the 5 books. Now Stargame and Hostia. I would just, I don't, I'm kind of like wondering how I would make that entertaining, like, because it's just, it's just like book reading essentially. I'm not quite sure, like at least with Undercover Nazi and White's FOIA request and his lengthy filing that Silva had reported on, and at least with that, I could like compare and contrast. I'm not quite sure what I would compare and contrast with Hostia and Stargame and Naus Naus, and like would I just compare it with the Bible or something? It's just kind of hard to like. It would be kind of hard. I'm not quite sure what. I mean, it would. The more interesting part of it would be like with Myatt and his connections to Combat 18 and allegedly Project Gladio, where a lot of this stuff seems to stem from. Like I mentioned, Aquino, and but yeah, I guess my vision for the future would kind of be. I'm thinking about going into White's story a little bit more. I think I mentioned this already, but at the same time, I kind of want to do more. I don't want to say lolcowy kind of content, but I kind of want the next video to be more lighthearted. I'm not quite sure what that's going to be.
Okay, gotcha. So you're looking for some slapstick with Bill White. Got it.
Maybe. I was actually thinking about writing him and asking him like, why did you find the tip that you got credible that Kelly Boaz and Sutter and or Perazo was going to come and kill you? But he kind of like answers that question in his filing, where where during his time he essentially tried to counter the FBI's counter intel operation, and he made a lot of connections, I guess.
Yeah,
So I
if
guess
I recall correctly, when I talked to Ken about that, he seemed to be kind of like, I think I might believe him, is what he sounded like when he was like that they were gonna kill him, and I was like, okay, because I mean it sounds like just some bullshit, some dude made up. So you're like, I don't remember what Ken had to base that off of, and to be fair, this is so long ago, I might not even be correct that he said that.
Yeah.
But I could have swore he did, and I was like, okay. I mean, so maybe there is something to that. I would be very curious why he
I
thought
could probably
that.
tell you. White essentially, I believe he is like a genuine Nazi. Like he's self-described neo-Nazi.
Yeah, about
Like
that
so
life.
he tried to essentially he says himself in his lengthy filing that Silva had linked that he tried to counter the FBI's counterintelligence operation ostensibly, and he because he believed that the Judaic influence was essentially the greatest enemy toward the white working class or whatever. But he essentially just tried to counter that, and I guess he had some success because he made them waste like $100,000 on some like bogus, like probably more than $100,000, but like a couple $100,000 on some bogus protest that was going on. And obviously they didn't like him for that. So if I were the FBI, I wouldn't like him for that. But his website overthrow.com has actually had more influence, a lot more influence apparently, because during the early thousands when we first invaded Iraq, when America first invaded Iraq or the Middle East, I can't remember which. I think it was Iraq, but it was in 2003 when the height of the Iraq War was starting, and the weapons of mass destruction thing was kind of the big thing because of that. And I guess he intercepted, like he states in his document, that he intercepted some communications between some intelligence agency that said, "Oh, there's no weapons of mass destruction." Again, I'm paraphrasing, so fact check this, but he essentially intercepted those communications and put it on overthrow.com and essentially like outed this like to the whole world. And apparently he got like a ton of people visiting his website because of that. Like he had a lot of influence, I guess. Overthrow.com, he had a ton of influence, and he also, I guess he was from a young age he was tried to be recruited into the CIA because he pulled a prank that he perpetrated the Columbine massacre, I guess. Like and I guess he like trolled CNN with that. At least that's what he said. And the CIA tried to recruit him, I guess, again according to him, but he refused. What else? But yeah, he ostensibly started work. He says he read the Gulag Archipelago, I guess, and he became very disillusioned with America, at least again in his words. and because of that, he had no sort of American patriotism, I suppose. So they tried to get him toward that angle, essentially try to recruit him or appeal to his patriotism, which apparently he didn't have. So, what else? So he pretty much ostensibly worked for Russia, like with Pravda.ru. He mentions that as well, and a few others. He also worked for another news agency that was owned by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, which wasn't a terrorist organization at that point when he was working for them, but he did work for them, I guess, because that was when he got out of prison for the threats that was sent to that juror, I believe. And then they try to get his ass again. But he's essentially been a thorn in their side for, at least from what he said in his filing, he's been a thorn in their side for a long time, and they just wanted whatever excuse they could get to get his ass, essentially.
Okay.
And I would assume that this came from his counterintelligence operation to their operation, and they just didn't like him for that. So it's like, okay, just kill him, I guess. Just kill him. Just get Boaz to kill him. And then August Crease III being a part of the motorcycle gang, what was it, the SS Cavalry Brigade, which Crease is I don't want to say he's a right-hand man of Sutter, or was, but he was close to Sutter during his Aryan Nation days, so that would certainly bring Sutter into the picture, at least to some degree, because I guess he tried to get Crease to do a lot of shit, I guess, or try to entrap him, I guess, but nothing. I don't think anything really came of that. They may have stayed friends. I don't know what they are doing now. I don't know if he's even still alive, but August Crease being in this picture certainly brings Sutter into this, because they were pretty close. He even got him to move to South Carolina with them from Pennsylvania, I think, to live on his compound for a while. I don't know how long that lasted, but they were close, apparently. So I could certainly believe Boaz being, Kelly Boaz, the cop that White blames for the threatening email debacle and the alleged attempted assassination. So I could certainly see Boaz doing that, at least from what I've read about him. I've obviously never talked to the guy, so I don't know. But there was one other thing. Oh yeah, there was actually a question. There was a question that I had regarding those. In his FOIA request, where a lot of people source Sutter being involved with the threatening emails. My question is, why didn't, I guess this is kind of a little hole that a little hole poke. This is the only hole poke I can find. But why didn't he mention the alleged, because this was in 2016 and the alleged attempted assassination happened in 2011 or 2013, something like that. But why didn't he mention in his FOIA request the alleged attempted assassination then, but he mentioned it in his filing? Maybe it wasn't too relevant, I guess. I don't know. But that would be the big question there for me anyway.
Yeah. Well, Br0th, let people know where they can find you. It was fun having you on to talk a little bit. Let people know where they can find you at, where they can follow you, stuff of that and we'll go ahead and get out of here.
All right, yeah. I mean, you can find me on just Br0th on YouTube, Br0th. I do have a Twitter and Instagram, but I don't really post there that often, so it's not really worth following there. Maybe I'll start posting some art or something like that on there at some point, but YouTube's pretty much the headquarters, I should say, of social media for me.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on. For those who want to support what I'm doing, you can support me over at patreon.com/nowayjose2020. The lowest level is $2. That gives you early access to the episodes like the one you're seeing tonight. This, for the patrons, you're getting it a week early, as opposed to the general public. Also, at the $2 level, you can do the video call-in on me and Austin's weekly live call-in show on Tuesdays at 9:30, where on the second half of the show you can come in and talk to us as one of those talking heads on the screen, just like me and Br0th are right now. The highest level is my sponsor. I read them off every episode. I'm a co-host from Tower Gang at Tower Gang Toad, also at Abrogate D's at ZOVERACK at _Infinite Zeal. Then I also have Tim Tuttle at Jolly on Klebold. Then Will Bell is a delicious blueberry rabbit eye wine. Then big fan of the show, Torin May, and then also at INWARD Lover. at Inward Lover, because I think we should all just learn to take a moment, look inward, and learn to love ourselves, and we should all be inward lovers. So yeah, but yeah, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Boost us up in the algorithms. Make sure to leave a 5-star review on Spotify or iTunes, and yeah, hit that like button. It takes you no time at all. So just hook us up with that. Like, share, subscribe, comment, follow me on Twitter at TowerGangJose, and with that, we are out of here. Bye bye, y'all.